haven't tuned into one of these dialogues, I want to give a warm welcome to Jason Matthews. Y'all make sure y'all show him some love.
What's going on, Melvin? How are you?
What's going on, brother?
Can't complain, man. Every day is a good day.
How's everything?
It's
Always,
it's going. It's
always.
going. The day is definitely going. It goes as it should.
Little, hold up. How we
Might be
go
a
ahead.
bit of a
We
delay.
good?
Is there a bit of delay between what I'm saying and what you're hearing?
I think it.
Yeah.
it I'm not sure. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Am I coming in clear?
You're coming in clear. How am I coming in? That is a big delay.
Oh no, you good. You good.
There's like a 2 to 4 second delay between what I say and what you hear.
I was just asking. How's everything going? How the family? How's the work week?
It's going well. Yeah. Things are work is picking up. I'm getting a lot more conversations, which are always good. I really enjoy get those conversations going because they usually lead to more business. Talking to the right people, making sure that I take enough time to myself, enjoying the family, all the good things.
One second.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the studio and come back in because I think it might be on my end.
I got you. A slight technical issue, but we will get back here shortly. Just a second. Um, Tonight's topic: psychology. Hold on.
Is that better?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
All right. Reverse psychology.
Interesting topic. So, when you talk about reverse psychology, what is it you're referring to exactly?
From my point of view, it is a form of manipulation used to get someone to do something that they were opposed to doing initially. So you incorporate this tactic in order to change their mind without them knowing that you're actually changing their mind. I think it's a form of manipulation.
That's probably correct. Um, Psychological reversal is more if I say, don't think about carrots, the first thing you're going to think about is carrots. That's psychological reversal. If I say, don't get a lottery ticket because you don't want the burden of wealth, that's a psychological reversal. Because what you are hearing is that if you buy a lottery ticket, you might actually become wealthy. So what that does is it places in the mind a what if. What if I actually do this? What's going to happen? That's the point of a psychological reversal. And it's not positive or negative. Yes, it is manipulation, but you have to understand that everyone manipulates. Anytime that you are in any kind of this dialogue right here, what you and I are having is an act of manipulation. But there are two forms of manipulation. There's ethical manipulation and unethical manipulation. And unethical manipulation is what we commonly refer to as being manipulative. Whereas ethical manipulation is what happens when we enter into an agreement knowing that our minds are going to be changed in some way, or we're going to be changing someone else's mind. In any way, growth is going to happen, change is going to happen, and we're okay with it. Artists, like what you've mentioned before, writers, songwriters, singers, painters, people like that, they're all manipulators. They manipulate people based on emotions. A person who is writing a song isn't writing it just to enjoy the act of writing it. They are writing it because they know the effect it's going to have on other people. Taylor Swift didn't win 14 Grammys just because she wrote really good songs. She won 14 Grammys because she knows how to how to change and transform the emotional landscape of her followers. And it's important to understand that the act of psychological reversals is just one form of that kind of manipulation. It's one thing that it is a responsibility that we have when we entering into a discourse with another person. Why are we doing psychological reversals? Why are we acting in manipulation? Is it for the purpose of growth? Is it for the purpose of my own um, gain at the expense of another person? There are many things that have to be thought of when it comes to the idea of why we do what we do, especially when it comes to manipulation.
It's like never really tried to measure both sides of it in terms of is one more healthy than the other. I just kind of just say, well, is human nature, and we like you said, we all do it in one way or another. I like how you said ethical because now my question is, what is a good form of um, ethical reverse psychology that is being utilized in a way that's going to be beneficial to both parties,
I'm really glad you asked that.
because
Um,
most of the time when I personally have ever dealt with someone or I've used this, I could say that I've done it in ways to where I was trying to get a certain outcome out of it for my own gain. But then also that on the flip side that I saw that by me doing this, this would actually help you too. So is there a line that we draw in terms of this? Is there a way, a metric to where we can say, all right, should we be doing this or should we be doing this at all? Or should we just completely just throw out this whole idea that we have to use this to get someone or coerce someone to do certain things, or should we just be completely blunt and honest?
So there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, I love your questions because they're always so layered, and it gives me an opportunity. It challenges me to really be able to speak on it in a way that is going to be appreciated by the audience. So, as far as your first question, is there a form of ethical reverse psychology? The answer is yes. The um, best example I can give, there's a practice, a therapy that exists called the emotion freedom technique. It was developed by Dr. Gary Craig in the 70s. And what it is, it's a way of being able to reverse the thinking of the mind, especially when it comes to trauma and traumatic events. So, what would happen is, I'll give you an example. So, when he was doing a speaking engagement, there was a Vietnam veteran who had severe PTSD that he called up onto the stage. It got to the point where even the slightest noise or sudden movement would cause him to panic or to react um, above and beyond what was necessary. In 20 minutes, he was able to use EFT, emotion freedom technique, to take this person from a subjective unit of reference, which is basically how you feel. It tries to quantify feelings through through a number scale of 0 to 10. So he was able to take him from a 10, which is completely distressed and unable to control his emotions, down to a 1, which is effectively able to manage the emotions and disregard any maladaptive behaviors. He was able to do that in 20 minutes. And after doing that, this gentleman who had suffered for over 10 years, actually probably longer than that, probably even more than 15, excuse me, suffer for that long of what he did and what took place in the Vietnam War, to a point where he was able to adjust, to be well adjusted within society and not have another issue or another setback or another flashback, as they were called. And he was able to do it because of this EFT. And EFT is all about psychological reversals. The setup statement for EFT is in itself a psychological reversal. Even though I suffer from X, I deeply and completely love, accept, and forgive myself. Now, the psychological reversal is even though. So it's a sentence of yes, I deal with that. However, just because I have this, I don't think of myself any less. In fact, I can still hold myself in high regard, even though I do have this. So that's one of the best use cases of this. NLP, neuro linguistic programming, is full of psychological reversals in order to get people to deal with phobias, to deal with irrational thinking, to deal with um, what's known as cognitive distortions. These things are really great, are really greatly dealt with in regards to psychological reversals, because you either exaggerate or um, you really compare what's going on to something that is not as bad, or something that actually seems a lot worse, or whatever you might do. The comparativeness or the exaggeration of it turns it into something ridiculous. So the mind reverses the belief that what it is feeling is real, and becomes more adaptive to actual reality.
Oh, see, I'm trying to formulate my response because I've utilized a lot of these different tactics in my own pursuit of breaking through a habit or a fear or phobia myself, sort of like talking yourself off the ledge, if that makes any sense. I know that what is in front of me is real and is something that I always have a issue with to a certain degree, but I gotta constantly tell myself something else for me to move forward. Then I switch it on the flip side. And I think it's interesting because if you look at a lot of different examples, right? Anytime you're dealing with someone in your personal life, you know them, you know their habits, their good and bad. So I'm sure there's been plenty of times where you've had to do this here and there. And I sometimes I ask myself, I wonder if they know what's happening here. Or do they ask themselves, I wonder if they know that I'm actually getting them to do something that they wouldn't do. Oh, you ain't gonna do that. You too scared to do that. Oh, I already know how you are. You've always been like that. I've always been like that. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna show you that I'm not the person that you think I am. And then go to the strangers, people that you probably work with, and things of that nature. Folks that kind of think they know you and got you figured out. You play dumb. You don't let them see your full deck. They don't know what kind of cars you got. All they know is that you're just one way. You have a routine, but the whole time you listening to everything that they're saying. You know how they operate, how they move. So just by playing like you don't have no knowledge of what's going on around you, you can create the environment that you want that's going to fit you based on the situation that you're in around these people. And the whole time they think that they're using you and that they're controlling the narrative, but the whole time you're using them in the ways that they think they're using you. It's it's quite interesting how humans deal with each other on a daily basis.
So this is
Just like
a
you said,
context. This is a context of between two types of thinking. So you gave two really good examples of manipulation, which are universalization, and ambiguity. And the reason why these work is because there's a presupposition there that this is the way that things are, or everyone else agrees. People say that you talk too much or that you have an agenda. Who? Who are these people? So specificity becomes the enemy of ambiguity. Specificity also becomes the enemy of universalization. Well, you always do that. Really, when was the first time that I did that? And how many times after that have I done that? I need dates. I need numbers. I need accurate data. If they can't give that to you, all they're doing is gaslighting you. They're making you believe something that is not true, or they're hoping that you'll believe that something that is not true. And the reason why they're doing that is because you're absolutely right. They want control over the narrative. And the only way they can get that control is with your compliance. And if you're unwilling to be compliant, they can't have any control because whatever they think about you or whatever the perceptions they have of you is only a suggestion, only until you decide it's true. The moment you decide it's true, it becomes your reality.
right on, right on. It's been many times. I've been in this room pacing back and forth, or I just took a stroll and I go back to my childhood. I'll just go back a year or two. I think about a conversation I had with somebody, and an argument or a dispute where they would try to. You ever had someone say, "All you do is bring up the past. All you do is talk about stuff that happened. Why do you do that? Why do you keep doing that? The whole time you never bring up the past ever." That's I know me personally. I don't. The only time that I will go into that scenario is if it's for a very good reason. But for the most part, I don't do it. But a person who is trying to get out of something, they'll say, "You always going back here," and right. And then if they say it enough and they say it with some type of anger behind it or with some type of authority, it's supposed to convince you after a while that maybe they right. Maybe I do bring up the past too much. Maybe I am this way. But you know that that's not true. You know it's bull. And then if you're not really strong enough to stand your ground on that, they'll flip the entire script. And then by the end of it, you'll think that you're the problem. You'll think that you're actually the one who's to blame for everything that's happening around you. I guess I'm just talking about different situations and scenarios. This one in particular is just about someone trying to get out of accountability.
Hmm.
But there's other examples like you pointed out, and it's a very universal technique. I guess I kind of just question sometimes whether or not it's good to do it or if it's counterproductive.
So again, the answer is it depends. If you are using it as a way to get someone to not do something, it really depends on context. If someone is intent on doing something they believe to be right, even if it's based on reality that will cause great harm to themselves and to others, and you have the ability to use language, to use manipulation as a way of getting them to rethink their choices and possibly give up this idea that they have, would it be prudent for you to use those techniques? I think the answer is yes. However, if you're using it to get out of trouble or you are using it to only further your own agenda, absolutely not. It is absolutely counterproductive. And when people decide, what's going on, Prince? When people decide that they're going to use these kinds of strategies and tactics to get what they want for their own gain, the the upside is minimal because you're dealing with with an idea that you have more right to attain someone than something else. Because when you do it for your own personal gain, there's always someone who's going to lose while you gain. Because you are gaining something at the expense of another person. And that's always counterproductive. If someone has to lose in order for you to win, that's very counterproductive.
So I have a question. What's the difference between being bluntly honest and telling the truth versus reverse psychology. If so, if there's a side to this where you use this tactic to get someone to do something in a healthy way, and it's seen as um, admirable because it's coming from a good place. But if you tell the truth in the same notion on the same concern, it's kind of demonized. Isn't that kind of a issue? Like why is telling the truth more harmful than sprinkling in a little bit of manipulation to get the same result that you could have if you just told the truth?
Right. So the answer is resistance. The resistance that someone has to the truth. And it comes down to a resistance to the relationship you have with them, or they have with you, more to the point. Because you're not going to go to someone that you don't know very well, especially if they don't know your personality, your conversation style, your word choice, and they know exactly what your intention is. You're not going to go to someone and say, if you eat that cake, you're going to gain 5 pounds and become fat.
Yeah, yeah.
So, um, sometimes you have to be a little bit manipulative in order to get around that resistance. You need to have you need to have some persuasion. You need to have some diplomacy. You need to have some manipulation in order to be able to get the outcome that you want. As long as that outcome is for the betterment of everyone concerned and it is not focused on you winning while someone else loses, it is not a problem. We in today's society, trust is a rare commodity. We're looking for reasons to distrust people rather than to trust them. And so at the same time, people are gravitating to those who would manipulate them, thinking that they have some kind of secret sauce, not even realizing that they're being taken to the cleaners while someone else gets rich and whatever they're buying may or may not work. Whatever they're signing up for may or may not be in their best interests. So it's important to understand how to get a relation, how to create a relationship of trust with someone. It's done gradually, and it's done through manipulation. Now, if it's ethical, then it's going to be transparent. So if I say to you, this is just an example. This is not something to be taken seriously. If I this is so bad. If I go to you, Melvin, and I say, "Man, I've got this great organization that I think that you should join," and you know that it's a cult, and you know that it's not a good one, you're probably going to question my life choices, and you're going to question everything you thought you knew about me. But if I come to you and say, I noticed that you've been struggling, and I noticed that you've been going through some things, and I think that I know some people that might be able to help. It's actually part of an organization that I'm part of. I found a lot of help in that, and yeah, it might seem a little bit culty at times, but really, it's just there for people's help. And here's how they help. And I list out the things that they do, and these are things that you've been looking for. And I say now it's completely your choice whether you decide to go or not. All that I want to do is give you the information, and you can do with it what you will. And if you decide to go and you find it's not for you, that's cool. I don't want to force you to do anything. That's not what I'm about. You're more likely to think about possibly checking them out because I've given you more information than if I just say, "Hey, I got this cult that I think you want to look at." It's it's providing you context and providing you the ability to get the information as well as do what you want with it. It's a method that I call TABLE, TABEL, and it's an acronym. It stands for transparency, autonomy, benefit, empathy, and long lasting relationship. So, transparency is giving as much information as possible, as much information as is needed, actually. The autonomy is the whole part where I said, if you choose to do something or not, that's fine. It's your choice. You have the deciding factor. If I say to someone, or if I say to you, this is how you're going to benefit. Yes, they're going to benefit as well from you attending, but you're going to benefit from what they have to offer. That is the benefit for you and for them. So the benefit for all concerned. Empathy is being able to understand where you're coming from and what you're all about. Being able to demonstrate that I understand that about you. And in long lasting relationship, the goal is to create a relationship of trust that can be built upon, so that the next time I do suggest something, or the next time that you're looking for help, you might look for me. And again, that's an example. So it's all in the ability to show how where your resistance is unfounded, and there's a better place to go. And I'm going to manipulate your way of thinking ethically. You're going to be aware of every step of the way. At the same time, you're going to possibly consider what's going on. And for those who are watching, I have no place advocating cults. I'm not in a cult at all. I don't believe that cults are actually a good thing. I think that they actually do a lot more harm than good.
Imagine, imagine someone saying, "Hey, look, man, we drink blood and we sniff a line of cocaine every 30 to 40 minutes. We got a room full of hookers in the back. You stressed out, man. You try to have some fun. You try to relieve your mind. This is the place you want to be at. Ain't and there's people there's people that's bold like that, but immediately as soon as you say something, it's like I'm I'm dashing off like the road runner the opposite direction. There's no way in the world that I would ever. But it's just to be that bold and to be that honest about what you do and what you stand on. I respect it, but it's like, yeah, you need some help, buddy.
It's the resistance, and that resistance, it is what needs to get past in order to formulate the relationship. As long as the relationship is key, as long as what you are doing is to benefit someone. Like if you get someone who's got the liquor, who's got the girls, and who's got the drugs, who is benefiting? The person you're buying it from. And who's suffering? The person who's using all that. But if it's a situation that where you know that, yeah, they're going to benefit, but you're also going to benefit a lot more because of the way it's going to lift you up, the way it's going to make you feel inside, the way it's going to make you feel supported, and help you towards your purpose. If it does these things, then you're more likely to trust it more, especially if it's coming from someone that you've built that relationship with. But that relationship requires a bit of manipulation.
So here's my I understand exactly what you're saying. So here's my thing, right? Because it's like is manipulation even is manipulation good? I mean, and while I understand the pros and cons to it, right? You said it very eloquent. You broke it down very well, and I see it. I see it as clear as day. But it still feels like wow. I just exerted a good bit of energy having to go through the line in order to get you to drink from the well? Should I really feel proud of myself? I'm happy that I could get you or convince you in a way to be able to do something that's going to be healthy for you. But at the same time, am I happy with myself? Am I satisfied that me being myself was enough, or me not being myself is going to always be what gets the other person to move in a way that's going to be beneficial to them and me, especially if we're dealing with each other on a regular basis. Like, do I have to lie and manipulate you in order for you to be a good person? Do I have to lie and manipulate or omit and embellish the truth in order for you to do certain things that you should already know that you need to be doing?
So that's that. I hear what you're saying, and that is it's not the same thing. I see what you're saying and how you're looking at it. But if you're having to omit or embellish the truth, it's unethical. If you're having to do something that sacrifices who you are, it's unethical. If you are creating a relationship that feels false or that does not reveal who you are and forces you to um, word information in such a way where it doesn't sound as bad as it actually is, like the liberation of suffering rather than killing people. Um, if you have to do wordsmithing in order to justify an action or a behavior, it's unethical. Ethical manipulation is where you are absolutely yourself. You are dealing with people you enjoy spending time with, and you are talking about them with something that you want to get you want them to come around on because it is important to you and you know how helpful it is to them. This is what ethical manipulation is all about. The other part that you were talking about, that's unethical. And yes, it feels icky, it feels wrong because it is icky and wrong. It does not serve the purpose. It doesn't serve anyone other than the person who is manipulating, and possibly the organization or the person or thing that is behind that manipulation or what the manipulation is for. In the long run, it doesn't serve the purpose that people think it should or that people would want it to. All that it does is serve itself. And that does not that is the definition of self-serving, to serve the self. If it is more than self-serving, if it is of service to the whole, to the people that you are interacting with, then it is ethical.
I appreciate that breakdown, because this is something that happens on a regular basis between people, good friends, old friends, new love, old love,
Mhm.
marriage, um, on a workplace, in the household. People do it all the time, and I always wonder, do I feel right? Do I feel good about myself after we've gone down this road? And so I can say that there's been times where no, I didn't feel like myself. Then there's other times I'm very happy with myself because I know this is going to help, and it's not going to have a negative reinforcement behind it. where somebody is paying for it through some type of karma or anything like that. This is really to help you out. So I think that kind of was a little blurry for me,
Mhm.
especially because it's real close. Like it's not like super distant where you're kind of like, all right, I know I'm doing the right thing, but it feels wrong. You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying? So I, I I I got it. I got it.
In those cases, if I've had those situations too, where I know what the right thing was, but my skill set was wrong. The way I wanted to go about it would not feel right. It would feel like I was betraying myself, and that in itself is unethical. So, because you should never betray yourself in order to get the outcome that you believe is right. So all that I had to do was step back, go back to the drawing board, and figure out a way that actually would make it feel. I would get the internal yes, this feels right, and then move forward in that way, knowing that I was going to achieve the right outcome, but it was just a slight change in the way that I approached the situation. I I dealt with it in a different manner so that I felt like I was being true to myself as well as honoring the needs of the people that I was interacting with.
Okay, okay. I guess my last question for you personally, or just in general, would you rather have the truth as your guide, or would you rather have if you had to pick between the two and you could never use the other one ever again in life, would it be the unmitigated truth or the reverse psychology if you had to give up one or the other? Now, granted, with the reverse psychology, you can still apply your same ideology, but you know that something comes with that too. But with the truth, yeah, people are probably not going to gravitate towards it that 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 will. But w- would that benefit them more than the reverse psychology? So you have the burden of choosing between one staying and one going. What are you going with?
So that's an impractical question, and the reason why is because you can't control your reality, and you're basically asking, would you rather an apple or a bag of nails? You can only eat one, or you can only build a house with one. They are not they are completely on different spectrums because the truth, the unmitigated truth, the divine truth, that is the truth. But the question is, how do you get there? And the road to the truth is not always a straight. And that is why we have the skills that we do to get where we need to go. Sometimes you need reverse psychology. Sometimes you need the blunt, honest truth. Sometimes you need to build relationships, and sometimes you need to go it on your own. What tool do you need in that moment? And if you remove a tool from your tool belt, if all you have is a hammer, then everything looks like a nail, even the glass bowl.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about it that way. Yeah, that makes sense. I guess because everybody's different and everybody reaches their positions in life through many ways. That's why we have people who go to counseling and they have coaches and things of that nature. Everyone has their own specific job that they're good at, and they can diagnose people a little bit better than someone without certain skill sets could. So I get what you're saying with that one. I personally, I'm with you on that. I was kind of leaning more towards just the truth, but it's like at the same time,
The hardest thing that people contend with is ignorance. And when I say ignorance, I mean the lack of knowledge that a person has about a specific thing. So the cure for ignorance is knowledge. And the more knowledgeable you are about a certain thing, the better you can deal with it. It's never going to go away. But knowing how to interact with it, how to engage with it, or how to move around it so that it's not in your path, that requires knowledge. And that also requires practice. And the more you seek to strengthen yourself or to arm yourself with various knowledges, you'll be able to arm yourself with the understanding of how to move through life better. Because people are going to do what people are going to do, whatever. You've got that selfish ex-girlfriend who's always going to try and guilt trip you into doing what she wants because she's too lazy to do it herself. You've got that overbearing parent who wants to really keep you in line by making you feel ashamed by bringing up the past. You've got that friend who is jealous of your success, and so they're going to tear you down every chance that they get. Whatever. These people are going to do what they're going to do. Your job is to know how to work around that and how to move through life so it affects you personally as little as possible. And that requires knowledge and experience.
it's like driving a car without a spare tire in the back,
Mhm.
having a flashlight, having what's those things called when you get pulled over to the side of the road? The
Flares?
the little flashes. So if you're stuck and you need to make sure that traffic sees you from, yeah, I don't want to put myself in no positions where I'm naked in terms of knowing how to do certain things, giving the circumstances I'm under. I don't care if I have all the information in the world or just enough. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say reverse psychology is a fairly reasonable asset to a lot of people's lives. I think my only issue ever with it is the ways it's used.
Mhm.
I think
Facts.
I don't, and I can, I can't measure how how it's being used on a large scale in terms of are people really doing it from a good place versus a bad place, because it's just like if I said that, for me I see more bad than I see good, but I don't know, I can't quantify that. I don't know for certain if it's even or lopsided. So I think that's why I always had a little stirring in me about that, and I wanted to just talk about it tonight. So
It's a good topic. Absolutely. I love anything that has to do with human behavior and communication because we're all human and we have to communicate.
right, right. Do you have any last thoughts on this before we close out?
Yes, I do. Something that you actually alluded to. Regardless of how you interact with someone, it doesn't matter what the interaction is. It matters how you use the tools that you have, and understanding whether what you are doing is more for you or more for everyone. And the more it's for you, the less it's for everyone. And if all you're doing, excuse me, if all you're doing is benefiting you, what is it about others that would make them want to really support you?
Food for thought. Let that sink in your spirit. Don't drink no blood. Don't cut off no chicken heads. Don't walk down that dark alley. Don't sign that contract. I repeat, do not sign that contract. I thank you, brother, for pulling up, for your enlightenment, for sharing your thoughts, and you know, we always have a good time with these back and forth, man. You opened my eyes to some things tonight that I'm gonna carry with me the rest of the weekend as well. So, as always, man, good to see you. I'm glad everything is well on your end, and yeah,
Melvin, it's always a
we
treasure to be able
closing
to
out
interact with you.
tonight. Definitely. You enjoy the rest of your night. Um, we will be back tomorrow and Saturday. Y'all make sure y'all pull up. I've been on it all week, and it ain't gonna stop. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Put the word out. Let the people know what we got going on over here. If you need to get in contact with me or this brother, you know how to find me. I can make it happen for you. Um, Anything else, I just say y'all have a blessed evening, man, and we'll talk soon. This is Assembly of Excellence saying good night and bless.